I'm suggesting that those whispers / rumors were being leaked by the Eagles to try and move the needle a little bit to see if they could drum up interest on Jalen Reagor, because I don't think there was any on the open market. And as Kemsky correctly pointed out, sometimes after the fact, people think that you're going to cut the guy, and that's why they're not going to offer you anything for him. And then when you keep him, go, oh, shoot, I guess we're going to have to pay if we really do want him. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. This is Birds 365 on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Oh, we got a couple more people streaming in. I put this request out there when the show started. We've got a whole bunch more people streamed in right now. Please do us a favor. If you liked, maybe even loved the trade that Howie Roseman made yesterday. John and I both like it. We both like it a lot. We're trying to come up short of the love thing, which some Eagle media members and or fans, I thought, overreacted to the steal that Howie Roseman pulled off yesterday. But if you're one of those who just loved what Howie Roseman did, well, then hit the like button right now for Mac and Mac. Share some love with us while you're at it. Shoot, I got the Eagles going to the Super Bowl. I did say that here on Birds 365 yesterday, right? That I made a wager over the weekend for the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl.
Miami, right?
Yeah. Eagles beat Miami in the Super Bowl.
You got hyped up by that preseason game, man.
You got that right. 500-1. Now, John, between you and I, and not the 399 people that are tuned in right now, I also bet Miami to beat the Eagles. I played it both ways. I didn't just play Eagles over Miami. It was 500-1 either way, so I covered myself. So if it's the Eagles and the Dolphins in the Super Bowl, yours truly wins. Somebody's going to win or lose that game, not the Mac man. I'm winning either way. So I have officially put my good hard-earned money on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl.
I think you got a better chance with the NFC side of that equation than the AFC side. But most of that has to do with
that's what it is. If you look at them individually, the Eagles were 30-1 to win the Super Bowl 2 weeks ago. They're down to 25 almost everywhere, and in some places down to 22. The Dolphins, despite balling out in preseason, are still 40-1 to
that's
win.
Because of the AFC. I mean,
I
mean, how do you get through Buffalo and Kansas City and
3 playoff wins at a time for the Dolphins? That's you just keep picking them off. The 2 haters are going to have to come to the 4 and go.
There's a lot of those in Miami.
And across the country.
Most of the Miami fans love Tua. The Dolphins beat writers, they get a lot of you think we're bad. Woof. They are miserable to Tua. Miserable.
And we'll see what Mr. Tagovailoa does this year. I think they've got an evil genius coach who knows how to build an
I don't
offense.
know about that, man. I don't know about that.
All right, quick question for you. Which McDaniels you taking? Miami McDaniels or Vegas McDaniels?
Neither.
You got to pick one of them. Neither wasn't an option. You got to take one.
Then I will take Mike.
Thank you very much.
I don't like
Josh McDaniels was how close to being the Eagle coach?
Very close. Very close. Well, actually, is it really that close if the owner's not that on board? Howie recommended Josh McDaniels to be the coach. And, Jeffrey Lurie didn't want him. And Jeffrey Lurie was correct because, no matter what those 2 guys say, and they said all the right things, obviously, we can coexist, we can get along, we can work together. That would not have happened. That would not have happened. I would have given that honeymoon 1 season at most.
Right. And the funny thing about it is now he and Sirianni are like that was part of the Abbott Costello thing they had going yesterday. He's trying to drag Sirianni in on his jokes.
Yeah.
He's trying to make him like a contributor to his attempt.
I think they practice high fives and fist bumps before they come out together. Yeah, they're like two peas in a pod right now.
Sirianni's got to tell the world that Sirianni waits at the parking facility for guys with stalled cars after they get beat by
Yeah, you
Tampa
know
and
what
come
the
back in the
funniest
snow.
part of that was? The funniest part, how we started the press conference, as it typically does, very somber on the cut down day. What a difficult day it is, and it is. Guys getting released, and um, you got to fight through it. And then they get to that point of the press conference. That was a good Howie story, by the way. That was a good story. Um, but he said so at the beginning he's like, we're a family, we're close, we're all this, and then at the end when he's telling the story of Nick Sirianni staying with Zach McPherson, he's like, why are you staying with Zach?
Right. What happened to the? Oh, it cuts me to the quick to cut these guys. Why are you hanging out with Zach McPherson? Jesus.
I said, Tim
And
McMahon.
even better was they let Dom hang with him. He
Yeah.
throws Dom
Well,
under the
Dom,
bus.
Dom always, that's Dom's job. You see Johnny Clark at obviously Chauncey, CJ Gardner Johnson at the airport, Johnny Airport, and there's Dom right next to him, walking CJ to Philadelphia.
Exactly.
And you probably need Dom to walk around Philadelphia, but that's another story. But there you have it. But yeah, I thought it was hilarious. Tim McManus pointed that out to me, and I was like, I was laughing. Yeah, he's like, "You're staying with Zach?" Right after saying all that empathetic
It's so
stuff.
hard to cut
Yeah,
these guys. We're
yeah,
family. Okay, Howie. And hey, by the way, great trade yesterday, Howie. Upgraded the team roster. John and I wonder about the transition to the safety period. Uh, it, it, there might be some, to use a McMullenism, which is actually a Schwartzism, there might be some startup costs with
yes,
Mr. Gardner moving to
yes.
the safety position.
He's
But
got 1 week to
eventually,
prepare. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, they just had a veteran safety who played in the same scheme with different terminology, and he was having trouble picking up the defense, you know, according to people in the organization. So, can you pick it up at about? Or maybe they're lying. Maybe it's not hard.
no,
Maybe they're just making excuses.
that might just be a Jaquaski Tart thing that they take some time to get up to speed, and we'll see if he lands anywhere else. All right, we talked about it with Kemsky. Want to go more on the record with you about it, Jalen Reagor. Even here yesterday on Birds 365, with hours to go before the cutdowns came down, there were whispers, rumors, call them what you want, about a trade for Jalen Reagor getting close. Well, the time came and the rosters needed to be handed in, and Jalen Reagor was still there on the Eagles roster, and he was not traded. I'm suggesting that those whispers slash rumors were being leaked by the Eagles to try and move the needle a little bit to see if they could drum up interest on Jalen Reagor, because I don't think there was any on the open market. And as Kemsky correctly pointed out, sometimes after the fact, people think that you're going to cut the guy, and that's why they're not going to offer you anything for him. And then when you keep him, go, oh shoot, I guess we're going to have to pay if we really do want him. If Jalen Reagor is traded in the next 24 hours or so, I'll eat some crow. But my take was there was never really any interest in Jalen Reagor in the National Football League, that nobody was offering anything. That, yeah, we'll give you a sixth if you give us back a seventh, which became the major modus operandi. The couple trades around the league yesterday, John, you
Yeah.
give up a
Well, the
player
Eagles
and
did
a
that.
seventh
Yeah.
to get a sixth. So you're not even getting a draft pick. You're just getting a round in a draft by moving up. I don't even know if that was out there on the table for Reagor yesterday.
Yeah. Well, normally, you can speculate, and I see where you're going. I know it wasn't the Eagles because I know who it was. Um, um, and 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 Jalen's agent has been given permission to shop him for a long time now. So he was making a lot of calls. Um, the Eagles, they want too much. I mean, could they get what you just said? Probably. They could have gotten maybe moved up, like you said, move up around in the draft, essentially nothing for the player, and gotten rid of him. They've been, Howie wants something of value, what he describes as value. But they weren't the ones leaking that. And once Tyler Johnson got cut from Tampa Bay, who's, maybe a lot of it has to do with Tom Brady, let's be honest, but he's made a lot of big plays in Tampa Bay. And I'm like, if you want a receiver, there's so many receivers out there. Why don't you just pick up Tyler Johnson, especially if you're at a decent position on the waiver wire. Now, if you're someone in the 20s or 30s, you're probably not going to have that opportunity. But there's a lot of bodies at wide receiver. So I don't know. There were rumors. Well, how ironic would this have been after they traded JJ Arthega, who got cut, but they traded him to Seattle with DK Metcalf. And there was a rumor going around that Minnesota was interested in Jalen Reagor. He would go where Justin Jefferson is. And it didn't break into fruition. But, yeah, I mean, they want too much for Jalen Reagor. It's bizarre to me. It's bizarre.
Because we're not flies on the wall in the conversations that Howie Roseman's having with other general managers. So we're doing some pretty good assuming here, and I could be completely right or completely wrong. I don't think anybody in the league wants him. I don't think Minnesota wants him. I don't think anybody wants him. I think that his value is close to nil on the open market. And much like everybody else, San Francisco ended up, and I don't think we talked about this yesterday, the whole Garoppolo thing. They, to their credit, by showing patience, at least to a point, they got what they wanted, a reduction in salary for the player. Now, they got to keep him now, and he's going to be looking over the quarterback's shoulder, and they are, I think, kidding themselves to say, oh, it'll be no problem whatsoever. We'll see about that, but they showed the patience, and they got what they wanted. What is the patience going to be the payoff for the Eagles here? That if they set
there's no payoff other than what Jimmy said. They don't have a punt returner except Jalen Reagor. I mean, Greg Ward's on injured reserve now. Britton Cubby, maybe they bring him back on the practice squad. Certainly he's going to clear waivers. So maybe they can find somebody. They really, Kenny Gainwell, maybe you can turn him into a punt returner. You're not going to waste Devontae Smith. I mean, Quez Watkins can't be a punt returner. They need him to be the punt returner. And as far as receiver, he's not going to play unless a bunch of people get hurt.
Right.
And if a bunch of people get hurt, then maybe you can have this. People have talked about Nelson Aguilar, and he was terrible, and then he had one good year, or one acceptable year during the Super Bowl, and he played great in the actual Super Bowl.
Right.
The only way something like that happens, a redemption, even if it's short term, is if a bunch of people get hurt. That's the only way, and then he would get an opportunity. Otherwise, he's just the punt returner.
And, oh, by the way, just remind me, anything about his punt returning, you said, yeah, well, at least you're getting that he was good at it and that he made plays. I think of more misjudgments, feeling the ball inside the 10, deciding to take a chance, and sometimes it ends up not hurting you. You're trying so hard to make a play that you end up losing ground by going backwards or whatever. He had like one good punt return in 2 years that I can say, oh, yeah, there it is. There's that breakaway ability that the Eagles drafted him for. That was one of the things they said yesterday. He's always had that ability. Okay, he's done a good job of hiding it from me. But what does he
Well, he's
actually
had
do other than he's the only one who's ever done it on the Eagle roster as of right now?
I will. He's had 2 good punt returns.
Two? Okay, I'm sorry. I
he had
apologize.
he had the touchdown in Green Bay, and then he had like a 40-yarder last year. But you're right. He makes bad decisions back there. Um, it's the same thing with Jalen Reagor, and Howie talked about it yesterday. He mentioned the word explosive. He's got
Explosive.
explosiveness.
Thank you.
Um, he does, and if he gets to the open field, but the problem is you got to get to the open field. He's not a good punt returner, but he's literally the only punt returner the Eagles have. You got to have somebody do it. He's their best kick returner, to be honest, as well. Not because he's a good kick returner, because the Eagles don't have a good kick returner. Now, that part of it's not as important in the modern game. You just down the football, take it at the 25, and, hopefully go about your business. But, I think people forget Quez Watkins was the kickoff returner last year to start the season. He was worse than Jalen at it. To be honest, he was terrible at it. I guess you can put Boston Scott back there. Kenny Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell's not had a good summer. They have an issue on special teams. When I asked Jimmy that, and he's not the only one. I'm waiting for somebody to give me that answer. Like if the Eagles are going to underachieve, and I say, everybody goes to the quarterback, obviously, but if you take the quarterback off, if you take injuries off, I was hoping somebody would say special teams because the field position, they would lose the field position battle on the regular, and they're playing on longer fields, and that makes it really, really difficult. And they haven't improved the return game. They haven't improved the coverage game. There's no great special teams Chris Maragos like players. Kyron Johnson hasn't shown that to this point. Other than Jake Elliott, Aaron Cepas has had a good summer, but he had a good summer last year. And so we have to see if he can continue. And he started well last year, and then he faltered badly down the stretch. Their special teams weren't good last year. Nobody cares about special teams, and that's evidence because nobody thinks about it. They don't have a punt returner. They don't have a kick returner, and they can't cover kicks. If you're looking for somewhere where they're going to underachieve, to me, that's it.
Let me now focus it even more. Because coverage is coverage and you got to be able to cover. And they kept the guy like Sean Bradley because of his coverage ability. They're deep at the linebacker position. That's one of your, why are there more defensive guys than offensive guys? I'll tell you, Sean Bradley. And he better kill it on special teams this year because I don't know how often he's going to get on the field as an actual linebacker. Roster construction. Did the Eagles this year, and maybe even in previous years, so it's the Howie Roseman time frame, do they not put enough emphasis on, I guess it's specifically punt returning? If you get one guy to do both, punt and kickoff, then that's great. If he's good at both of them, not just he's our guy because we don't have anybody else, because that's what you're basically telling me about Jalen Reagor. Do they not put enough emphasis on that just in general? That they don't go out and get a guy. They tried with Covey and he just wasn't good enough to merit. If he came in and just wowed everybody, all right, guess what? He gets a roster spot because this guy's got a chance to be a top 5 returner in the National Football League. Are they either not dedicated enough to it or not good enough at it to be able to find a guy? Because it's been a long time, Johnny Mac, since you may have to go back to Brian Mitchell to when the Eagles had a guy that put the fear of God in them as a returner.
Darren Sproles,
Sproles. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for the correction.
Yeah, they should know because they had Darren Sproles, and they saw the difference when Darren got later in his career, and he used to get banged up a lot, and you would see the difference when he was out there and when he wasn't out there. Same thing with Maragos. You would think the organization that had a player like Maragos for that long would recognize the importance of having a great special teams player. Um, but Darren, in the case of Darren was a good football player. Like Darren was a great running back. Darren could do some things, catch the football, run the football. That seems to me that they're not going to keep a returner to be a returner, just a returner. And that's why I never even considered Cubby for my 53 because he can't play receivers. So they're not going to keep him just to return punts. And especially in the modern game, it's become less important than ever before because punters are so good and they boom it so long. And you have less punt returns than ever before, and kickoffs are even worse than that because of safety
kickoffs
reasons.
are basically irrelevant now.
Yeah. So, if you have one, it's sort of great, but if you don't have one, you're sort of like, who cares? And
except John
Eagles,
McMullen will go on Birds 365 and point out that you lose the field position game week in, week out.
Exactly. And it does matter. It does matter. Because if you're sitting there, and I always bring up Cordero Patterson because I got to cover Cordero. And I saw him beat Chip Kelly's team on presence alone. They would not kick the football to him.
Yep.
They would not kick the football to him because they were that frightened of him. And he'll take it out from 9 yards deep and he'll make you pay. Those guys are few and far between. But when you have one, you're like, wow, that's nice. That's a luxury. That's a real luxury. When you got to sit there and say you're 2 yards deep, kneel down because you're getting nothing. That's a problem. It's not, it might not be a big problem, and I know nobody cares about it, but it's a problem. And the Eagles lost that hidden yardage game last year consistently, and it makes it tougher to win games.
All right, one last thing we got to get a break in. Michael K is going to join us, but it's not going to be for another 20 minutes or so. Opening week in Detroit versus the Lions.
By the way, Howie said fired up. Detroit's going to be fired up. That's what
I don't care whether Detroit is fired up. That's not the question. They can get it fired up if they want.
I just wanted to throw it in there.
They're not winning the game. No, I'm even talking before they get fired up by actually going out onto the field. The captains will come out to the field and the referee will toss the coin. If the Eagles call it correctly, what's Nick Sirianni doing?
Oh, he's deferring.
He didn't defer during the preseason. He took the ball.
He's deferring. Yeah, no question. Against Detroit, I don't even have a problem with that. I have a problem with deferring when you're up against it. Like when you're playing Tampa Bay and you're playing a more high-powered offense. That's where I have a problem. I don't have a problem with I'm not one who subscribes.
Go ahead, take the ball, Jared Goff. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that's the way I would go because you want to sandwich, you want to do the Bill Belichick. That's what everybody's doing. You want to sandwich the first half score with the second half score, get the ball. And if you do that, you're going to win the stinking football game. So I prefer to defer when you're the better team offensively. When you're not, you got to be self-aware. You got to shorten the game. You got to do it. What you hope to do is get the football going, a 15-play drive, take 8 minutes off the clock in the first quarter, score a touchdown, shorten the game. That's what you should do when you're playing Tampa Bay. When you're playing Detroit, give them the stinking football.
Go ahead, take the ball, Jared Goff. I won't be as upset week one when the Eagles win the toss and decide to defer, because the main reason it annoys me is I think they do it out of rote because the analytics say you should do it. You should do it. Yeah, but as John McMullen just correctly pointed out, unless Tom Brady's on the other side, then why do you let the analytics dictate your decision? How about we use a little football common sense in deciding whether we're going to take the football or not. The Eagles, I feel, that's just my personal opinion.
All last year they deferred.
And it shouldn't be that kind of decision. It should be an individual game by game type thing. But if you defer week 1 against Detroit, we'll be okay with you, Coach Nick. All right, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. You got your Mac guys here on Birds 365. Yet to come, Michael K from the Pro Football Network. So stick around.